Hello. The Epicor Parts Network B2B eStore, formerly known as IEP, has the capability to provide the repair shop with manufacturer-recommended service intervals. This optional feature must be enabled by the part distributor for each repair shop, as this feature has an additional charge. The repair shop can tell if service intervals has been turned on for them depending on whether the Service Interval Plus button is in the Find Parts tab as indicated here. Service intervals vary based on vehicles, driving conditions, whether it is mileage-based, indicator-based, or just a specific additional service. Let's take a look at some examples. Assume you need to look up service intervals for a 2007 Cadillac STS. Once the vehicle has been selected, click on the SI Plus button. This screen shows the variety of types of service intervals that may be provided by the manufacturer. The left-hand column shows the familiar mileage-based service intervals with normal as the selected default. Clicking the arrow besides normal provides a drop-down to show other driving conditions that have service intervals as defined by this manufacturer. The middle column will show any possible service intervals based on vehicle indicators if there are any, and any other recommended additional services that are time-based. The indicator section may or may not have any items to check based on that specific vehicle and whether there are any types of indicators that need to be dealt with. Additional services as well may or may not have any recommended services based on that vehicle for that manufacturer. Finally, in the right-hand column are specific conditions, if any, that need to be answered based on the service interval requirement. Then finally, multiple selections can be made from each area at one time, in addition to picking multiple selections within each category. So now let's take a look at a couple of examples. Using the same vehicle as was previously selected, let's look at the normal mileage-based service intervals for 100,000 miles. Select the 100,000 mile checkbox, answer the specific conditions, and then click the parts list page. As you can see, the system returns the normal mileage service interval for 100,000 miles, and even more importantly, a mapping of the parts required for the task in these services. In this specific case, the air filter and spark plugs. The Automotive Service Professional can now easily select the parts required and click the Add to Quote page. The system takes you to an active quote screen with the information from the service task along with the parts. Note, however, that while there is information in the title bar showing the number of hours required, these are not added to any labor total for this quote. This is for information only. Now let's look at the same mileage, only this time let's look at the change of severe driving condition is selected. In this example, there are a couple of additional items in the service area. In this case, replace automatic transmission filter and fluid. So the parts for the transmission filter are displayed to be selected. Now let's look at what is provided for the maintenance indicator. As previously mentioned, these are only provided by those manufacturers whose vehicles have maintenance indicators. In this example, this vehicle has two, a Maintenance 1 and a Maintenance 2. Selecting Maintenance 1 provides a list of the services and parts required for those services. As in the previous examples, you can select the appropriate parts and move this information to a quote page. A couple of points to make while on the quote page is that you can remove individual items by clicking the appropriate Remove checkbox. This doesn't change the time in the title, so just be aware. This quote can also be printed and handed out to the technician if needed. Remember, though, that this is not a customer-facing quote. It is only intended for you to provide specifics to your technician about the work. If you do print it out, you should at least click the $ button to remove the cost field in case the customer happens to see it. Picking Maintenance 2 brings up a different set of services and parts as shown. As you can see, there are many more services to be done with the Maintenance 2, as well as additional parts. Finally, the additional services are also vehicle specific by manufacturer. These can be added to any of the other mileage or indicator-based service intervals as well. Be sure and look at some of these as you learn more about service intervals from Epicor. In summary, service intervals is a powerful add-on tool for the automotive service professional.